Hi, I'm Kylie Roberts.
And I'm Mel Wunwell, and we are Shift Unlimited.
In this podcast series, we will be doing a deeper dive into many facets of living and leading in this modern world, from founder to scale up, right through to leaders of global established organizations.
We will explore how we can be more holistic and authentic as we connect more deeply with ourselves, our relationships with others, and the wider world.
Let's begin.
Welcome to today's podcast, which is focused on the less well-known aspect of life, leadership and coaching, called anchoring. In this podcast, we will explore what anchoring is, why it's an important area to be conscious of as we lead and coach, how it works, and how we can consciously work with it to help ourselves and the other people around us to be more successful more of the time.
So what exactly do we mean by anchoring? You may have heard of Ivan Pavlov and his experiment with the dogs and the dogs salivating with the ring of a bell. But you also may or may not have heard of the scientist Bill Twittmeyer. And Bill Twittmeyer discovered that when he tested people's reflexes by tapping on their knee with a small device, you would get a reflex action and the knee kicks up. But what he discovered when he was doing this work was that when he went in to tap the knee, he didn't actually have to touch the knee with a hammer. The knee would have its reflex action of kicking up as if he had done the touching. He conducted a wider experiment on this, and then he wrote an article about it, which was published in the American Medical Association Journal. And that article, unfortunately, was largely ignored, which is why most people haven't actually heard of Bill Twittmeyer's name. However, the article was noticed by a Russian scientist, Ivan Pavlov, and he decided that was quite interesting, and he took the research further and experimented with the nervous system of stimulus and response in humans. He was very curious about it with humans, but he used dogs for his experiment. So in his experiment, he put a piece of meat in front of a dog, and then when the dog would start to salivate, Pavlov would ring a bell. And he'd repeat this stimulus and response several times. So piece of meat, ring a bell. And what he found was that the dogs would start salivating each time they saw the meat, but he could just ring a bell after presenting this stimulus response association a few times. And without the meat, just ringing a bell, the dogs would still salivate. So this is the science behind stimulus, response, association, and anchoring.
And as human beings are animals, the same thing happens. We build stimulus response patterns in our neurology. We now call these associations anchors. Whenever we are in a heightened state, our nervous system starts scanning, using our five senses to find something unique as the reason for being in this intense state. And when it finds it, it links the two things together in our neurology. As human beings, we are anchoring machines. We're anchoring all of the time. Many naturally occurring anchors you may be aware of already. The hour song phenomenon, which is when we hear a certain song and it reminds us of a special memory or a special time in the past or a special person. When the same external trigger happens again and again and fires, it puts us in the same state. We literally link the two together. Other naturally occurring anchors include the red light, which equals stop, perfumes or smells that remind us of certain people and places, when we're driving our car and we see a blue light flashing in the rearview mirror and we tend to go into a certain state. Heart rate rising, foot goes to the brake and we feel a bit worried. They're natural stimulus responses.
So why is anchoring so useful in leadership and coaching? The main reason is it enables us to gain control over our emotional state. Most people think their state runs them, rather than having the option to put themselves in the most powerful, resourceful states possible for what they're doing. Anchoring enables us to be able to tap into our most resourceful and powerful states that we've had in the past and to be able to fire an anchor off in an instant so that we can feel all those resourceful feelings in that instance. So when we're leading teams and people, or we're coaching teams or specific individuals, if we become aware that there is a negative anchor associated to something and it's stopping them from being successful, we can use some of the techniques that we will share with you in today's podcast to help people to be more in control of their own emotions and to be in a more resourceful state whenever they need to. Also, some of the techniques for anchoring enable us to change or eliminate anchors that we or maybe some special people around us have currently and they're not working for us. So anchors that can put us into an unresourceful state when things happen to us. A few examples of this could be when we need to do something that we consider to be high stakes, like doing a critical client presentation or presenting on stage in front of an entire organization, or maybe seeing a certain person. These things can trigger immediate feelings of being not confident or just, not feeling very great at all. So I've used anchoring a lot in my coaching, and there's, particularly with some of the work that I've done with some athletes over the years, anchoring has been very useful for them. One particular athlete was a triathlete for Great Britain, and the swim is the first leg of the triathlon. And whenever this athlete went into the very cold water in the UK that starts the swim of the triathlon, they had a particular move that they did with their physical body, with their hands, that meant that they fired off an anchor that we had created during coaching to give them a sense of confidence and like excitement for what was about to happen, so they could start the race feeling so resourceful and ready for it. Mel, when have you used anchoring in coaching?
I've used anchoring, like you, a lot, working with people who are getting ready for key interviews or promotion conversations when people are presenting. So one particular example was a colleague who we were both presenting at a conference, and as we arrived, it was quite a large number of people who were there. And this particular colleague hadn't done a lot of presentations to large audiences. And I could see over the course of the morning, her nerves were starting to really get the better of her. So we just found a really quiet place away from all the hustle and bustle and did some resource anchoring, like you just mentioned. And when she went on stage, she absolutely rocked. So how can we consciously make anchors work for rather than against us? Let's start by looking at the steps that are important in creating a really strong resource anchor, like the ones Kylie just talked about with her athletes and I talked about with my colleague. An anchor is something you can tap into when you need to be on the top of your game, feeling confident, powerful, as though you can just do anything and to the best of your ability. There are 4 steps. And if you're watching on YouTube or you click on the link, you'll see these 4 steps. The first one is to elicit an intense associated state in yourself or in the person you're working with. The second one is to provide a unique stimulus, like the one Kylie mentioned, as the state reaches its peak intensity, so at the very height of the state being great. Then we break the state with the client, so their state changes, and then we test the anchor by providing the same stimulus and noticing what state they go into. There are 5 keys to making this work. The first one is the client must be in an intense state. The second is the anchor must be applied at the peak of the state. The third thing is the stimulus used for the anchor must be unique and easy to reach. So somewhere like on your wrist, as long as you don't touch your wrist very often, or maybe a tap to your ear or something like that. The anchor must be repeatable and something you can do subtly if you're in a room with people and you need to access a better state. And the more times that you create your anchor, the better it will be. A bit like a bank account when you need to keep topping it up to make sure you can access it and it doesn't go overdrawn. So my resource anchor is on my wrist. Kylie, are you happy to share what your resource anchor is?
Yes, a little bit of a curling of my second finger into my thumb.
Nice.
So there are some important skills to develop to help you to elicit states in others, which we'll talk a little bit more about now. And the first is knowing more about the best ways and the best states for anchoring. So the preferred states for anchoring are naturally occurring states. They are the most intense. You know, the ones where you're just rolling about on the floor laughing. You're having a great time in that moment. That is the most intense and naturally occurring states that you can anchor. So in the moment, if you're feeling confident, feeling powerful, rolling on the floor laughing, feeling loved, anchor that. The second preferred state for anchoring is one that you might remember that you had. So a vivid memory of an associated specific event in the past where you drop down into the memory of that and you feel the feelings that you felt previously. The third preferred state is general memories. So things that just generally there in your past, they're less intense. And then the fourth and the least preferred is imagined or constructed states. So things that maybe you haven't felt yet, or an event that hasn't occurred yet, you drop into that and create a feeling or create a state for it. So we're creating an anchor of resourcefulness when we create an anchor. So this is the thing that you can use to help you become more resourceful when you need to. Therefore, they need to be upbeat emotions and states and created on a single anchor point like Mel talked about. So there are some examples of the things that people want to feel more resourceful around. So totally powerful, totally loved, totally energized, totally confident. The feeling you could have it all, whatever you wanted, a time when you could have it all. And the feeling that has you falling down, laughing, rolling on the floor. These are all states that we can stack when we anchor into our resource anchor. It's key to get coaching clients or team members to agree which states they want to work with as they build their resource anchor. So it helps for them to talk you through what their memories are of their states and really get them into a great place just thinking about all the things that they've had in their past that they've got great memories on that they can drop into to stack their anchor. And they also get a sense of what to expect when you go through the script of anchoring with them.
The script, if you're doing a preferred state that's a memory, I'll just share with you now. So you have to start before the script by getting their permission to do this work and also to get in rapport with them. So it's very difficult to talk through a really highly energizing and positive state if you're not in a great state yourself. It just won't have the same effect. So start by agreeing the states that you'll elicit, as Kylie's just said. Explain what will happen to them. So you'll be asking them to close their eyes, and you'll have to agree where the anchor is that they're going to have. And it needs to be a kinesthetic one that they can anchor. So you go into the desired state. If they've chosen being totally loved, for example, or feeling totally powerful, you need to go into that place yourself in order to be able to stay in rapport with them and help them to do this work. And then you start by saying, can you remember a time where you felt totally, whatever the state is, totally loved or totally powerful? Can you remember a specific time? As you go back to that time, go right back to that time, float down into your body, see what you saw, hear what you heard, notice what you noticed, and really feel the feelings of being totally, whatever the state is. Both Kylie and I, when we do this work, we will say to them, we'll be using a specific script. Is that okay? And before we both memorized it, we would have that script in front of us. And you can stack different states all on the same anchor. So you can have an anchor where you've done this script for being totally powerful, totally loved, falling down laughing. The more positive experiences, the better in terms of building the anchor and creating a really positive one.
Back in the year 2000, I think it was 2000, my dissertation in psychology was all focused around stimulus and response. So this is a topic that both Mel and I are really interested and definitely passionate about. We've seen it work with our clients so many times. The neurology of stimulus and response is very much like walking through long grass. There's no path. And as you walk, you trample the grass down and you're creating a path as you go. So that the next time you come back to this place, the path is there and you can see it, and you follow the same path that you went before. In our brain, this is what's happening with stimulus and response associations. Once we have an associated stimulus response, once or twice, it's a path that is easy for our neurology to follow again and again. Just think about Bill Twitmeyer and the little device going in to tap the knee, but not even tapping the knee, and already the knee is responding. Sometimes this association between stimulus and response can be unhelpful to us as well. And to change that, we need a pattern interrupt. There are many ways to pattern interrupt. Essentially, what you're doing is you're standing before the trampled, well-trodden, grassy path in front of you, and you choose to walk through the long grass to create a new path, one that hasn't been trodden on before. So we recommend that you give anchoring a go with someone who maybe has an important meeting or an interview or an exciting presentation coming up. Using this script that we've shared with you today, have a lot of fun with it and remind them and also yourself to use it before the interview or the meeting as well. Like, fire your anchor, use it to help you to be more resourceful. It's great fun playing with anchoring. Pay attention to maybe some of the songs you hear on the radio and where they take you, what you feel. It's kinesthetic, as Mel said, it's a kinesthetic response. What you feel when you smell certain smells, hear certain things, see certain things. So you're anchoring all of the time. And here we're just playing around with it, making it a lot more conscious, so it's something you can use to be even more resourceful. Thank you for listening to our podcast today. Click to subscribe to our channel, and you can follow us on Instagram at shift_unlimited. Goodbye.